Hi, everybody, and welcome to Banfield. We're going to begin tonight with the hardest single question in criminal justice. And I'm not even saying one of the hardest questions, because I actually defy you to think of a harder question than this. What should a civilized society do about children who kill? And I mean, like, children, little children, kids who aren't even old enough to babysit each other. This week, police in Orlando, Florida, arrested a 10-year-old girl on a charge of second-degree murder. A couple of days earlier, the girl had tagged along with her mom to a confrontation that mom was about to have with another woman. It was right around midnight, best time for a 10-year-old to be out, and that woman had been fighting with the girl's mom on social media. But a real fight broke out, and amid the flurry of punches, the girl's mom handed her a backpack, and inside that backpack was a loaded gun, which the 10-year-old girl quickly fished out and fired. Fired at the other woman's head, and that woman was pronounced dead at the hospital. The little girl was promptly arrested and charged with second-degree murder. And mom was arrested too, yes, but she was not charged with murder. She was charged with child neglect and negligent storage of a firearm and manslaughter. But second-degree murder for the 10-year-old who mom dragged out to a fight at midnight? And while the local prosecutor says she has not yet made the formal decision whether and how to prosecute this little 10-year-old whose picture I can't show you because she's 10, the question remains, what should we, society, what should we do with children who kill? How do we bring about justice for a grievous offense and an offender who cannot possibly even understand what she did because she's 10? And she's also someone who should never have been in a position to have to understand something like this. We know this much. If we put young killers away and we just hope for the best, friends, the best is really not likely to happen. And if you need a perfect example of this, I got you. 2 decades ago, a 12-year-old boy named Lionel Tate killed a 6-year-old friend named Tiffany Eunuch. He was trying out some TV wrestling moves on her, and she died. In 2001, he was sentenced to life in prison because of it. The lawyers on both sides have admitted that the system was just not prepared to handle a brutally violent case involving such a young defendant. And in 2003, an appeals court threw out Lionel Tate's sentence, and they set him free. Not before he spent 2 years in an adult prison, though. And then Lionel made a colossal mistake. Maybe it was because of the prison culture that he'd been growing up in, but Lionel robbed a pizza delivery man. And because Lionel was officially on parole, he was sent back to prison. And this time he was sent there for 30 years. And tonight he is still there. He's expected to be released in September of 2030. And that's when he'll be about 43 years old. So has anything changed since Lionel Tate? Yes and no. I'm joined by somebody who knows more about this topic than he probably wants to. Ken Padowitz is a criminal defense attorney. But in 2001, Ken Padowitz was the prosecutor who put Lionel Tate away. Mr. Padowitz, thank you so much for being on. I'm going to get to the Lionel Tate story in a second, but first I have got to get you to weigh in on this recent story of a 10-year-old being charged with murder when the mom who handed her the gun was not charged with murder. What do you see there?
It's a horrific tragedy. Obviously, the death of a young lady who was shot and killed. And I think you kind of framed the issue correctly. It's a terrible tragedy, and the system is really not designed to handle these kind of situations. Clearly, an adult mind, an adult brain, the individual, the mother who had the gun, she has, the ultimate responsibility here from any angle that you look at this. And unfortunately, at this point in time, as you stated, the child is the one facing the most serious charge. And, who put that child in that position to commit that crime? And from all information that we're hearing, it was the mother that appears to have done that by handing a gun with bullets in a backpack to her daughter. So it's a terrible
Which
tragedy.
that daughter, you know, Ms. Padowitz, that daughter knew right away what to do. She knew right away to dig into that backpack and get that loaded gun and bring it out and fire it. So there's so much to chew on here. I am not a lawyer, and I'm certainly not the kind of person like you who's been on both sides of the bar. You've been a prosecutor, you're a defense attorney now. But I do know one thing, and that is there are more than a couple of ways to skin a cat, right? That could be felony murder. That could be a murder conspiracy. I could see a million different ways with my tiny little mind to bring that woman into some more responsible system of justice than she's facing. And the 10-year-old, what do we do about her?
Right. Well, you mentioned some legal theories that could apply. The principal theory, where one person acts in concert with another, could apply here, where you could potentially, depending on the laws of that state, have the mother charged with a murder charge at acting as a principal in the case. So there are a number of different potential legal avenues to hold the mother ultimately, or at least primarily, responsible here for this horrific act. And then we are faced with that horrible decision again. What do we do with the child? Do we take a child and prosecute that child as an adult, which happened in Lionel Tate? And it was a terrible situation in the Lionel Tate case that you've mentioned way back in 1991, 92, when that case occurred. And, you know, here we are years later facing the same kind of dilemma. Are we really going to prosecute a 10-year-old for first-degree murder and have a lesser charge with potentially lesser sentence for the mother? I mean, I don't think that would be fair or right. I was a homicide prosecutor. I've been a defense attorney longer than I was a homicide prosecutor.
So, and take me back to that. And I think you just misspoke. I think it was 99 when Lionel Tate's crime happened, and then he was sentenced 2 years later in 2001. But that was you, right? And I know that you're twisted up inside over this one, torn to ribbons. But at the same time, I believe that in the subsequent years, you said that your hands were tied. There were no other options. Are there options now? And are prosecutors not paying attention to the lessons of Lionel Tate in charging a 10-year-old girl with second-degree murder?
Well, I think you just hit the nail on the head. I don't think they were listening, because if they were listening to what happened in the Lionel Tate case, I was hoping, as the prosecutor, I looked at the juvenile system, it was too lenient. They were going to send them home with milk and cookies. And I looked at an adult system that was too harsh, and they were going to sentence life in prison with no possibility of parole if the jury found him guilty of first-degree murder. So I thought, as the prosecutor, I could fix this problem. I could offer a very fair plea bargain of 3 years in a juvenile facility, and that would resolve the situation. But unfortunately, other events took place. The defendant has a right to a trial and not accept the plea if he doesn't want to. And Lionel Tate rejected that plea, and the case was then railroaded into a trial, which I anticipated would not occur. So I think the lessons to be learned from Lionel Tate is, let's not take young children and place them in an adult system with adult punishments, because we're not going to get a good result.
Especially when the adult was there, right, Mr. Padowitz? Like, especially when the adult was there and was the instigator and dragged a little girl who's probably only in 5th grade at midnight out to a fight, and then handed her the bag with the gun. Like, I can't even tell you, I wouldn't even go out at midnight with my baby if he needed diapers. I'm so incensed that this happened, for starters, that she's skating relative to her child, and that for some reason we've determined that this 10-year-old has this mens rea of a murderer. I mean, it's just nuts. All of it is nuts. Can you help me because I know you know the system inside out. Are they going to elevate her to adult court, or have they at least learned that lesson? And while you're at that explanation, can you tell me what's happening to this kid tonight in whatever detention center she's being held in without a mom?
Right. Well, of course, a 10-year-old who's being held basically in captivity. I mean, that's what we do in our country, right? We cage people. And, you know, it becomes more horrific when it's a child that is placed in custody. So what do you do in a situation like this? Well, I think you're hitting, you know, another point very clearly, which is doesn't take a genius as a prosecutor to figure out and be creative and be aggressive and go after the person that is most culpable if you believe there's probable cause that they violated the law. And if it's the mother here, then you should find a way to charge the mother with this homicide And you should handle the child in a juvenile facility, in a juvenile court. That's why, as a civilized country, we came up with juvenile court system, because we recognize that children are different. Their brains are different. They don't think the same. They can't act and behave the same way. And so we need to use our common sense and our education as one of the most civilized countries in the world, supposedly, and treat children as exactly what they are, as children. And if you didn't learn that from the Lionel Tate case, then they weren't reading and they weren't watching the hundreds of news articles and the thousands of TV shows that covered that case.
23 years later. 23 years later. So just so everyone knows, on your screen, the lady in the pink is the one with the child who's now facing murder, but the lady in the pink is not facing the same level of charges. And the lady with the earrings on your screen is the victim in this case who was murdered. So question for you again, and I really do want to drill down on this, and that is 10-year-old kids still cry for their moms, and some of them are still bedwetters. They're really little. And this kid, ostensibly tonight, is in a jail cell. I know it's a juvie facility, but can you describe for me at 10 past 10 at night, if this is anywhere close to what her bedtime was, what's happening to her right now?
This girl, as a 10-year-old, probably has no concept that she's going to be there that night, the next day, the following day, and potentially weeks and months, after that, until potentially a judge maybe uses common sense and releases the child pending the outcome of either a grand jury or the prosecutor making decisions about what the charges are going to be here. But what is it really? It's really a torture. I mean, we're not supposed to be torturing people in our country, but when you take a 10-year-old child and you place them in custody with this kind of situation without their mom and dad, yeah, I don't think it's not liberal or conservative. It's just being a human being and saying, you know what, we really shouldn't be caging 10-year-olds by the actions of adults who hand them loaded guns. And then, what do we expect is going to happen? So it's a horrific situation. We need a smart prosecutor and a smart prosecuting office to do the right thing here and go after the person who's culpable, who's an adult, who's made adult decisions that ended up in a horrible tragedy of the death of a human being. And that's the mother here, not the child.
Yeah, and I want to be perfectly clear here. I am completely fine with the carceral system and caging that mother, because if there's someone who needs to be caged, it's somebody who put a child like that in a situation like that and ruined that child's life. I mean, there is no way to cut it. That child's life is ruined, whether she goes to a facility till she's 18 or whether she's tried as an adult. She'll never be the same. She killed a woman with a gun at age 10. Ken Padowitz, thanks so much. I really appreciate your insight on this.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.